In 2019, I was interviewing at Facebook for an internship, and they flew me over to Menlo Park, which is their headquarters, for the on-site interview. This was one of the first times I was away from family, and I basically had to be responsible for what I eat. You see, for the first time, I had to order from restaurants, and the main problem I had with this was I did not trust the health standards of the restaurants that I was ordering from. I didn't know whether or not the food was being prepared safely or not. So I needed a way to tell me how healthy the food I was getting from the restaurant was. This problem lingered on in my mind for a really long time. And a few months later, I was taking a summer course at Harvard when I stumbled on this dataset: Restaurant Health Inspection Scores in San Francisco. This dataset shows a percentage rating of how healthy restaurants are in the San Francisco Bay Area, based on how clean their process is and whether they violated health standards. The data is collected by San Francisco's Department of Health, so it's pretty trustworthy. Then an idea hit me. What if I can build a website that would allow people to discover healthy restaurants based on official health inspection scores? At the same time, I had to do a final project for my summer course, so I chose that as a final project, basically killing two birds with one stone. A few of the features that I built was categories of restaurants. The dataset had about 53,000 restaurants, so I wanted to organize them across categories like cupcakes, pasta, sandwiches, etc., to allow for easy discovery. You see, the raw data did not have this categorization, so I basically had to transform the dataset to allow for this type of organization. Next, I built search. Because there were about 53,000 restaurants on the dataset, I wanted to make it easy for people to search for restaurants by name or by location. I also added reviews. In addition to getting official health inspection scores, I figured out people might also want to know the opinions of others, and so I added a way for registered members to write restaurant reviews. And you can see their name, their profile photo, the review they wrote, and when they wrote the review. Then I added directions. I used the Google Maps Directions API to show directions from the user's current location to the restaurant location. This was one of the first times I ever worked with maps, and I fell in love with them, and went on to work on many map-related projects over the course of my undergraduate years, and even doing an internship at the National Science Foundation on geographic information systems. And finally, I added some other additional features like login, sign up, managing profiles, pretty standard stuff. The tech stack that I used to build this was Python using the Django framework, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, SQL, a templating language called Jinja, and Heroku for website hosting. The site took about 2 weeks to build. I was on a time crunch to submit it by the deadline. Harvard has a pretty strong late policy, and in fact, the site was so feature-rich that I ended up submitting it 1 week later than the deadline, which ended up tanking my grades and I got a C overall. But in spite of that, I learned a lot of software engineering lessons while solving the challenges that I faced when building this. One of the main challenges I faced was site speed. The site was ridiculously slow to list restaurants. I was iterating through all 53,000 restaurants and listing them on the site one by one. I was 19, stupid, I had no experience in optimization, but I desperately wanted to make the site load faster. And then I realized that although I was loading all 53,000 restaurants, the user can only see the amount that's fitted on the screen. So I was loading thousands and thousands of other restaurants unnecessarily. So I changed the number of iterations on the loop to only load 80 restaurants at a time. Why 80? I'm not quite sure. I think I chose an arbitrary number. But this small change made the site load over 99% faster. This technique I later came to learn in my professional life is called lazy loading, which is a pretty useful optimization technique. And I had no idea what it was at the time. I was just trying to make my app run faster. And this is one of the reasons why I think it's good as a new developer to work on many personal projects, because you get to stumble on ideas that would be very useful in your career. Another challenge I faced was the lack of reviews. The site had no reviews when I launched it initially, And so I pulled reviews from the Google Places Review API and then dumped them on the site. This was a very interesting problem to solve since the Google Places API and the restaurant review dataset that I was using were two separate systems, and it was interesting to see how I would do the relationship of linking restaurants to reviews coming from two separate sources. I also got food photos from a stock photo API because the raw data had no photos and the site looked boring without pictures. So the photos that you see on the homepage, except when you click on the restaurant, are free stock photos. Before making the site public, I emailed San Francisco CD for their permission to use their dataset because I had no idea how the use of public datasets worked at the time, and luckily they said yes, and I bought the domain and hosted it on Heroku. I haven't updated the site for over 3 years now, and it's pretty crazy because I have kept the site up for that long, and every single month I pay about $7 for the Heroku hosting charges. I might take it down pretty soon to save some money. But I just like going back to look at the site and look at a project that taught me so much because I got to learn about APIs, data sets, ETL, website hosting, and a whole lot of other things that I use in my everyday life. I don't have any future plans for the project at this time. I initially wanted to add a recommendation feature and also add support for other cities like Boston and Baltimore. But the good news is you can add those features because the code is on GitHub, link in the description, so feel free to clone it, break it, or extend it. That's it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. Also follow me on Twitter. I'm giving away a $20 Amazon gift card to a random person that follows me on Twitter from this channel. All you have to do is follow me on Twitter and leave a comment on this video with your Twitter handle, and you're automatically considered. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.